Welcome to Unite Community Church. I am Chris. I'm your online host today. And I know it's weird because you're going, well, where's Abby? Where's Mikey? Where's Corey? All them guys. Well, here's the thing. We have a special thing happening today. Is that today, for the very first time, we are two churches. Okay? And what that means is that we have an online church, and that's you. That's what you're watching. And we're meeting physically all at the same time. Isn't that cool? And some of this is birthed because of the corona, right? There's still people that maybe you don't feel safe going out, or maybe you are a high-risk person. Look, we want to bring church into your home, right where you're at, and everything. And so with that, welcome to your church. This is going to continue on while we start to begin to meet in person. This is also great if you go on vacation. You can keep up with what's going on in the life of our church. As you're going to hear in the message today is that we're going to start a love movement, okay? And it's going to be a really exciting time for the life of our church. It's going to be a really fun time for this summer season that we have left, okay, as we're emerging out of the stay-at-home order. But here's the thing. I want you to listen every week. I want you to invite friends every week. And sometimes it's easier to get friends to view online. Say, look what my church is doing. Invite them to this platform. Secondly, is that it's good for you to keep up with what's going on. Things are going to move fast, but it's going to be super exciting. And we just want to make sure you are able to stay connected to what we're doing. In addition to that, we have our student ministry that are going to start kicking up, okay? That starts July 12th. It's going to be at Park Ridge Community Center right in downtown Ypsi area there. And so make sure you follow on social media to know when that's happening. If you have a teenager, get them there. I'm telling you, Mikey and his wife, they're doing an awesome time just connecting everyone together and making it move. It's going to be a really, really good time. And then finally, our kids ministry. Okay, we are not going to be having a normal standard kids ministry as we launch back live, but everything will be online. Everything, all the resources are available for you. And if you do choose to attend in the future, we're gonna have busy bags for kids so that you're not running around the park or wherever we're meeting chasing after your kids, okay? And so we're doing everything we can to keep everyone safe, but also to have a fun environment for all the ages that are involved inside of our church. Next, we're gonna move into our generosity moment. And if you missed last week, oh my goodness. You're gonna hear about it more in the service today, but last week just lit a fire under us as a church. Because of the generosity of our church, we were able to call up and just anonymously give $1,000 to a family. And I'm telling you, it was unbelievable what that did to that family. I mean, it's just unreal. We were able to have her fix her car. We were able to have her car towed. And more than that is that woman, that family felt the love of God, and they should have money left over to just spend on themselves. Isn't that awesome? And so if you give to this church, okay, I understand right now people are pulling back, we're holding on tight, but I'm telling you, thank you for being generous. Thank you for giving to this church. And I'm telling you, keep trusting us. Keep trusting us, keep giving, because you don't give to a church, you give through a church. And our commitment is that what you give, we bless the community with. And so thank you for giving. You can give at unitecommunitychurch.com. You can download our app and you can give that way too, but it's all digital because we don't want people to be spreading germs. So we love you guys. Man, we're gonna start some worship. It's gonna be a great, great morning and season for Unite Community Church.
Faith commanded God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Yeah, impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last, he has ransomed me. His grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Declare it. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Amen.
The end is near! Prepare yourself! The end is near! The end is near! It's here? It's here! Not an M-E-A-R, A-T-R-E. What are you talking about? Prepare yourself! Prepare yourself! The end is near! The end is near, Bob! The end of the stay-at-home order is near! We will no longer do church at home! We will do it together as a community! The end is near! The end is near!
Welcome to Unite Community Church. My name is Chris. Pumped to be here. I'm the lead pastor of Unite Community Church. And this is our very first service where we have our online campus and our live campusing simultaneously. Isn't that cool? And so if you're watching online, welcome to the Unite family. If you're with us in person, man, I'm pumped to be back in person. But the bottom line is we're going to move the church forward today. And I am more pumped for today than what's going to happen right now right now in 2020, right in June, than ever before. And so kind of let me set up today like this. Have you ever thought about certain moments in history where you're like, man, I wish I could have been there? What would have been for you? I know for me, it would have to be when the Red Wings won the 1997 Stanley Cup. Obviously I was alive then, okay? Many of you watching were alive then, but the bottom line is what led up to that is one, you had Fight Night at the Joe. And that was awesome. I mean, it was like boxing on ice. I mean, it was Darren McCarty pounding Claude Lemieux. I mean, it was awesome. You had the goalies fighting. You had Shanahan. I mean, it was unreal. And I wish I could have been there, like in person. And then what happened later that year is they went through, swept the Flyers, and boom, raised the cup for the first time in over 50 years. And man, that moment, I wish I could have been there to watch them hoist. I mean, there's certain moments where you're like, oh, I'm glad I could see it on TV, but man, I just want to be there and be part of what was happening. Second thing I think would be for me would be the Beatles. I wish I could see them like in their prime, like be there live in concert. Like I just wish, I mean, the leading rock band of all time, I'd be like, dude, I wish I could see them live. Now I know Paul McCartney and Ringo and they've done some like relive the glory day things. Okay. But can we just be honest? It's just not cool when you watch a bunch of old men like flapping and that old and Ringo's offbeat. I mean, he's old now, but the point is that in their prime, I just wish I could have seen it. Wish. I think the third thing, if I was kind of lining things up, would be simply this, is when Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Had a Dream speech. Like to see the sea of people and just to hear his voice. These are things that from sports all the way to history, like I'm like, man, I wish I had more than a video. I wish I could have been there in person. Okay, and the $1 million question is why are we talking about this in church? It's because right now, I believe that we have an opportunity to create history. I know that sounds big, that sounds lofty, but I think that right now in 2020, we have the opportunity to move things and be part of something way bigger than ourselves. And right now, I believe it's our time, the church's time to shine. I really believe that. I know we push back because 2020 has been crazy, right? It's been crazy for you, it's been crazy for me, it's been crazy for all of us, right? I mean, Corona had us locked down, right? I mean, lockdown. Then you have like all the racism stuff. I mean, you got the riots, the looting. I mean, you got the murder of people. I mean, there's just been so much happening in 2020 where it's easy to get our eye off the prize. And here's what I want to wrap us into, is where do we go forward from here? So this is our first week where we have 2 churches, online and in person. What are we going to do with that? I think it's time for the church to shine and keep our eye on the prize. And here's why, because right now, because of the political tension, because of the division, because of the polarity of our society, it's easy for the church, okay? And just so you know, that's you and me, the Christ followers, okay? It's easy for us to get our eye off the prize. It's easy for us to start yelling and screaming about reform and being known about what we say, not about what we do. And don't miss this, okay? Because I'm not saying reform doesn't need to happen. Okay, I'm not saying that, especially in our temperature of our climate that's happening right now politically. Look, change needs to happen, but can't we agree that when the church gets involved and we try to legislate morality or start demanding things of the government and creating laws, can we agree when the church gets to that and that's our goal, can we agree that's a loss? Like that's not what the church should be about. And can we agree that when the church gets involved on that level, they make a mess of things, right? But when the church shines brightest, the church shines brightest when we love. What if today we started a love movement? What if today we decided we're not gonna legislate, but we're gonna love? What if today we were marked, we were known, and we began to love? What would happen? What would happen? This would be our time to shine. And where do we get this from? Man, we get this from Jesus. Okay, and if you're brand new, we're Jesus Church. Okay, so like Jesus, it's all about Jesus. And if he said it, If he lived it, then we want to do it. And Jesus says something, and it's mind-blowing. And we went over this a few times. I want to major on the last half of the verse. But in John 13, Jesus says this, a new command I give to you. Love one another. Okay? Love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. Now, if you go back a few weeks, we've hit this. But the last half of this verse, what I'm about to read now, really lean into, because he says this, by this love. Okay, by our actions, by what we say or do, not by what we say. By what we do, not by what we say. By this, everyone, watch that. Everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Now, that pumps me up. Because right here we have a promise in the Bible to grab onto. We have a substance. It's not this concept out there, but it's like something to grab onto. And what's the promise? The promise is this, is that if we love, if we set out to create a love movement, if we decide we're going to be marked 2020 and we're going to mark it by love, what's the promise? What's the promise? That all the bad people are going to go away? What's the promise? Is that the election in 2020 is not going to be a mess? No. What is the promise? The promise is that everyone, don't miss that, everyone will begin to discover and love who Jesus is. That's the promise. The problem is, like I said, we get off. I get off. The vision of why we started this church to begin with gets off. And where's what starts to happen? COVID, home orders, like we can't meet in person. All of a sudden the church, the vision becomes, how do we get back to normal? How do we get back to services? How do we get the band? How do we get the preaching and get back to what we know as church? Where what if we focused on love? What if, sure, we do our services. Sure, we're going to try to get back to that. But what if we created a new normal of love? What if we were marked this moment by a love movement where we got beyond ourselves to love people? What would happen? Don't miss this. We would change the world. We really would. And I'm not talking about like the world out there. I'm talking about your world. Like think about your friends, your family, the people that are hurting right now inside of our community. I'm telling you, right now is our time. It's our time to shine. It's the church's time to shine. And if we will be marked by love, I'm telling you, and step into something today, the love movement today, I promise, here's what I promise, is that our world that we see in our little community, it will never be the same. But for that to happen, I'm going to call our church to action on 4 things. 4 things. And so if you're taking notes, okay, we're going to hit an acrostic, LOVE, okay? Mainly, this is because I'm a preacher, and acrostics are kind of fun for me, okay? Just don't judge me, just watch, listen, and take some notes, okay? But if we're going to live out love, okay, if we're going to enter into this kind of a love movement type of life, if this is going to be our time to shine, then I think 4 things have to happen. And the first one is this, is letter L, is that we have to leverage all we have. We have to leverage all we have. And what I'm going to call our church to in the next couple months, okay, is to leverage all we have to love our community around us. And this is huge, okay, because why is it so important to leverage what we have? Because love is a language communicated through sacrifice. It really is. We're coming to this. I've shared this story before, but as I sat back and I'm like, okay, let me illustrate this because I really want us to know this. I think the greatest act of love I ever did is when I sacrificed all I had to buy my wife her wedding ring. Now, before she was my wife, okay, I knew she was the one. She was the one, okay? Like you can ask, like her dad, literally, I remember I like shocked him. We were dating a couple months at the time, and I knew, and so I literally sat him down, and the girls went shopping, and I didn't barely know him, and I was just like, hey, can I marry your daughter? And he was like, I think he threw up a little bit in his mouth, you know, because he was just like, who are you, kid? You know, because she was 19, I was 21. I mean, we were kids, but I knew she was the one. Okay, and then once I got his approval, I had to buy the ring, right? The ring. And now listen, fellas, okay, if you're in love, teenagers, young people, if you're listening, like, do not buy into the lie. we're gonna live on love, so I'm gonna buy her a rubber ring. Okay, don't. Okay, I wear rubber rings now because I work out, but the bottom line is buy her a big ring. And you should be leveraging all you have to buy her the biggest ring possible, period. Okay, don't say, she don't like flashy. Look, every girl loves flashy, okay? And how you know? Because what's the first question? We got engaged. Let me see that ring, girl. Right? And so for me, I knew that. Okay, my dad taught me, my mom taught me. I knew that. And so I remember driving to college one day. And again, if you've heard this story before, just bear with me. It's hilarious. I had my tuition money in cash in my pocket, driving down to Wayne State. And literally, I drove past one of the jewelers places, okay, where we had like ring shopped, And I remember I was like, there's a ring there she liked. Man, it was too much money, but you know what? I have my tuition money. And so in one moment, I decided I'm leveraging all I have. And I literally took my college money, bought the ring, came home, said, Mom and Dad, I'm getting married. And I'm dropping out of college. It was great. My mom and dad, everyone was so happy about my choices, okay? But what can you not deny? Okay, is that I was willing to leverage everything I had to show the person that was most special in my life that they were valuable so much that leveraged it all. And listen to me, how that translates to us as a community, what we're gonna do as a church, okay, is I want to launch a love movement. Like I want our church to gather all we have, leverage all we have, and I want to slingshot it into the community to show them we love them. And understand, this is extremely biblical to have a love movement and to speak the language of love to the world. Again, if you come into our Bibles, okay, in 2 Corinthians, okay, we're going to be in chapter 8. Okay, and what we're going to be seeing here is that Paul, okay, the author of this letter, is writing about a church in Macedonia who was being generous in creating and showing love to another church in Corinth. Okay, now I want you to kind of understand what's going on here because Paul writes this in verse 1. And now, brothers, okay, so Paul is speaking to Christians, number one. Okay, so if you're watching, if you're leaning in, okay, this is a commandment for Christians. So if you're not a Christian, you're kind of exempt from this, but I promise you're going to agree with it. So Paul says, and now, brothers, we want you to know about the grace that God has given the Macedonian churches. Out of the most severe trial, their overflowing joy and their extreme poverty welled up in rich generosity. Now hang out and let's think about the historical context here, okay? Okay, because what you don't know, okay, if you're just a casual Bible reader, is that Macedonia was known as a very, very wealthy area. Okay, so in your mind, think about like the mansions in Ann Arbor or the mansions in Saline. Think about the richest communities you've ever like stepped foot in. You know what I'm talking about? Like you got like, think about the cars, right? Like the expensive cars, the jet skis, the boats, the toys, the four-wheelers, the big houses, just think about that. Okay, now we don't know what happened, okay, but history records that something happened in the city where they went from one of the wealthiest towns in the area to broke. Okay, they just went bankrupt, okay? And so, watch this, verse 2. Out of their severe trial, okay, so they went broke. We don't know what happened. Their economy flipped upside down. It just happened. But out of their severe trial, their overflowing joy and their extreme poverty welled up in rich generosity. Watch this. For I testify that they gave as much as they were able. Okay? So they didn't have much, but what they were able, they were like, you know what? We're going to be generous with it. And then watch this. And even beyond their abilities, they urgently pleaded with us for the privilege. Watch this. The church was begging. Those people that were broke and going through financial downward spiral, they begged, pleaded in the privilege of sharing in this service to the saints. Now track with that, okay? Because what's all going on here? And trust me, don't miss this. This isn't a money grab, okay? Okay? This isn't a money grab. This is something so much bigger than what's happening right here, okay? Because what is their urgency in this? Why would this church and these people that are going through a downward spiral out of a severe trial start to well up in generosity? What were they doing? They were saying, you know what? What Jesus said is that the world's going to know by our love. The world's going to know about how we give, how we love each other. It's going to shout louder than any protest, than any march, than any other thing the government or society can do. And in a moment, the church, don't miss this, the church proclaimed the mission of God, the vision of God to help all people discover and love who Jesus is through loving one another. They decided to let love market, let's be generous, and they engaged and gave, welled up and pleaded, I want to do this. Why? Because it mattered that the world saw their love rather than heard what they said. Don't miss that. It mattered more that the world saw how they loved rather than heard what they said. That's huge. Because we live in a society where it's really easy to get on Facebook, put your post up, wash my hands, feel good at night. But you know what's really hard? To put your money where your mouth is. You know what's really hard? Is to put your time where your heart is. And that's where what I'm going to call us to. What do we have to give? What do we have to give? And I think there's two things that our church has to give. Number one is time. Like I think we all have time on our hands. Okay, the world's slower than it's ever been. I understand that it's winding back up. But I'm telling you, we have time. It's a concept, it's a currency. Right? And then secondly, we do have money. We have time and money, time and money, time and money. What do we do with those two things? Okay, that's where letter O comes in, where here's what I suggest. We have to outgive the world. We have to outgive the world. Now, call a time out because if you think about what the world's doing right now, how are we, okay, supposed to outgive the world, okay? Like think about Corona for a minute, okay? The U.S. has already dumped $6 trillion. That's a lot of zeros, okay? Like I'm pretty positive I am never gonna see that many zeros in my bank account, okay? Like even if I strike it rich, never gonna happen, okay? I don't even know if that computes in my brain, okay? But they've given $6 trillion. Bill Gates alone, he's given $3 billion to the cure of coronavirus, okay? And again, I don't care what your views are of him. Point is, a lot of money, okay? And then here comes little old Pastor P. You know, we're gonna outgive the world. How the heck? Like, what are you smoking? What are you smoking? How are we supposed to make so much noise that the world sees God's love at the little bit that we have? Well, that's where we come back to the Bible. Because remember, these guys didn't have a lot to give. Okay, but what they had, they leveraged it all, but they united it with the mission of God. Watch this, verse 3. For I testify. Paul's like, I want to tell you about what this church did. That they gave as much as they were able, and even beyond their ability. Okay, so here's a margin. Okay, think about your margin in your life. He's going there. They're giving that plus some. I mean, that's crazy talk, right? Entirely on their own. They urgently pleaded with us for the privilege of sharing this service to the saints. And they did not do as we expected, but they gave themselves first to the Lord. Okay, think about it. He goes, and this is not what we expected. Paul's going, I expect them just to dump some cash and run. But look, that's not what they did. Okay, check this out. This was a movement. This was a life philosophy. They're going this. They did not do as we expected, but they gave themselves first to the Lord. We're coming back to that. First to the Lord. They say, we're going to start with giving our hearts, giving our lives, giving everything to God, and then to us in keeping with God's will. I want you to say that with me right now. God's will. Okay, I know you're on camera, so you're probably not saying it, but I want you to say it. They're keeping in what? With God's will. God's will. Now don't miss this, because they didn't have billions to give, right? Like they didn't have this wallets full of cash to just give, okay? What did they have though? What did they have? They had this love blasting through their heart saying, we're going to give what we have. We're going to go even beyond that, and we're just going to do whatever it takes to take care of the people that are down the road. And in doing that, what's it say? They're staying with God's will, and this is where it pumps me up. Okay, because what's God's will? Don't miss this. What is God's will right here on earth right now? If we're going to be the church, okay? What is God's will? Is it that the coronavirus is cured for forever and then we go on with our lives? What is God's will to make sure that all evil people never get into power again? Look, to solve world hunger? No. Like, all those are injustices we should stand up for. Yes, but what is God's will? God's will, don't miss this, is for everyone. Go back to the beginning. Everyone to discover and love who Jesus is. God's will is that more and more people will know the love and the grace and the mercy of Jesus. And I'm telling you, that's why our church is so focused on this. Because Jesus' promise is that if we well up in generosity, if we outgive the world, meaning that we collide the mission of God with the little bit we have, what happens? Is we start to live a life so beyond ourselves and collectively come together that we create a movement, not just any movement, but a love movement that ushers in justice and peace and love. And it's a rallying cry for the world to look to and say, in a life where 2020 is bad news, we can create good news. This can be our time. It can be our time. It can be. But we gotta leverage all we have. We gotta connect to the mission of God, and we'll outgive the world. We will, because we'll be giving them spiritual rest. And how we do that? Well, that's letter V, the vision. The vision. All right, so Chris, love movement. Yes, good idea. That sounds great. But how does this work? And that's where V comes in. Vision. Where let me unpack how all this kind of came about. Okay? It's for me as the leader of the church. Like I said, I get off. I get so consumed with how do we get back to normal. Okay? But for me, what I just decided, okay, is that our church, when it says, what did we do in 2020? Okay, I don't want to be known for the pastor that had really good tweets or really good Facebook posts. Okay, like I just don't want to. I don't know what it means about me. What I want to be marked for is boots on the ground. You know what I mean? Like, what I want to be known for, our church. Like, what did we do? Man, we changed the world. Our world. We did whatever it took to rally everyone to a moment where we're gonna shine love. We're gonna shine love. And so here's what we did this past month. Is we met with city leaders and school leaders and different things like that. And we kind of gathered them around the table. And here's what was so neat. Is that one meeting in particular, is that we had 3 principals from the surrounding city, okay, all getting together. I kind of started to cast this vision that, man, our church wants to be marked by what we do, not by what we say. And so I started to say, look, do you guys have a family or families or something we can do? Because look, I don't want to get lost in the legislation. I want to become political church. Like, what I want to be is a love church. I want to be a Jesus church. I want to be a love movement. So I start casting this vision of these guys, and literally these guys leapt, going, yes. And all of a sudden, what came out of their mouths were all these ideas, all these different things, and we've narrowed it down to, here's what I'm going to ask us. I'm going to ask us to create a love movement for the rest of this summer. Like, I think this thing's going to take us for the rest of the summer, and what we're going to give is 2 things: time and money, okay? And we're going to impact 2 key things. 2 things, okay? Is number 1 is that we are going to help paint Park Ridge Community Center. Okay, now if you're new to the area or you don't know the area, what is Park Ridge? Okay, as these principals were talking, all of them were like, look, every school has families in need. But they said, but if you want to help all the families, Park Ridge. And so what they did was they called Park Ridge. And Park Ridge said, man, you know what we need? We need some things. And one of the biggest things is that we just need a fresh paint job, okay? Fresh paint, fresh start. Like, it's just getting bad in here. So what would happen if we just remodeled the inside and started to help pull weeds, just make it nice again? And we said, well, you know what we have? We have a little bit of money, and we have a lot of time. A little bit of money, probably more time than money. You know what? We're in. Okay? So number 1, what we're going to do in the first week of August, okay, is we're going to have the evenings, okay, every evening we're going to completely remodel that place from the inside to the outside the best we can, okay? And they're going to lead the charge on that. We're going to participate. Okay, so I'm asking us, let's do that, number 1. But number 2 is there's also a family that we're going to kind of adopt. Okay, and this is huge to me, okay, because as they started sharing some needs, okay, there's one family in particular that just kind of stood out to us, and it was a mom that had to move out because of domestic violence, and there's a whole lot that goes into that. But the bottom line, this is what broke my heart, is because of Corona, because of the stay-at-home order. And here's what's so sad is one of her kids could not finish the school year or even attend 5th grade graduation because they were on the move in hotels and they didn't have the proper equipment or the proper internet connections to actually make school happen. Now, I don't know what that does to you, but here's what I know that does to me is I go, man, that's got to change. And I know there's probably 1,000 other stories and 1,000 other people, but you know what? I say we do what we wish we could do for everyone. Because you know what we do have? We have some money. You know what we do have? We have some margin. You know what we do have? The capacity to change at least one family's life like Jesus has changed yours. Right? What I do know is that, look, we can say there's all these problems and we can't solve them all. We're not rich. We're not made of money, so we're going to do nothing. Or we can say what we do have, let it well up in generosity. And let it move us and swing us and move us to a place where people far from God can see Jesus. And what's going to happen? What's going to happen? When I make the phone call. Again, if you missed last week, oh my dang, go back and watch the generosity moment. What's going to happen is that the will of God and the mission of God and the church is all going to climb. We're going to bring a piece of heaven on earth. And what pumps me up as your pastor, that's what I want marked by. That's it. That's it. And that's where the letter E comes in. Why would we do this? Okay? Because letter E is an eternal perspective. Understand, we have a choice right now to decide I'm going to let my love for God well up in generosity and do for one what I wish could do for everyone. Just one, it'll change their lives, man. We're going to actually just go paint and help tons of families. And again, why would we do this? Because we have an eternal perspective where, you know what I want? Man, I want people that are hurting to know God's real. And God's there. God hasn't forgot about them. Or again, if you go back to last week and watch that generosity moment, it was so cool. I just got to call a girl and just be like, hey, like our church heard that your kid's dad has passed away on Mother's Day, and this is going to be the worst Father's Day ever. And so you know what we did? We just decided, you know what? We're going to write him a $1,000 check. And here's what's crazy. When I made the call, and you can go back and watch, it's all live. I made the call, and literally in a moment, she's sitting there going, I'm going to cry because my car just broke down. I have $5 to my name, and I can't believe you're calling me. And then she said this line, and don't miss this. Watch it all come together. She says this. She goes, God might not come when I ask, but he's always on time. God might not come when I ask, but he's always on time. And look, there might be some theology to work through in there, but here's what I know is that woman saw the church, the mission, and love collide in her life. And yes, there is a monetary means, but it's bigger than that, man. So much bigger than that. And for me, as I sit back and go, what are we going to do? 2020. Corona, the racism, the riots, the looting, the polarizations, the voting debacle is going to happen in a few months, okay? Like, that's coming. I don't know if you know this, okay? What do? We created a love movement. That's what I want. I want us to rally around something that's bigger than ourselves, to point the community to Jesus. Because here's the promise Jesus said, a no command I give you, love one another as I have loved you, and by this love, by the love, the world will know who Jesus is. That's what I want. Now come back to this, because Paul wraps this whole thing up. And here's the best part about this, is that you have a choice in this. Okay, and I want this to land on you. Verse 8, where Paul then challenges the church in Corinth to do what the Macedonian church does. He goes, here's what they did. Welled up and mission of God. Everything collided. And here's what he says. He goes, I'm not commanding you. So look, you can come to our church and you don't have to participate in this. Paul's not commanding this, and I'm not commanding this. But watch this. But I want to test the sincerity of your, say that word with me, love. Test the sincerity of your love by comparing it with the earnestness of others. For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sake he became poor, so that through his poverty you might become rich. Think about that. Through us losing a little margin, through us losing a little bit of time, We have the potential to take a community center and raise it to a lifestyle of riches. We have the opportunity to take one family that's been abused and broken, and we get to adopt them and make them rich. And Paul goes, this is our test. This is our time to show the world what's UCC made of. What's UCC made of? We're made of love because we refuse to not do what Jesus says. Let's pray. God, I pray that this challenge and what we're doing resonates with people. God, I pray that it's a community project. God, I pray that there are other churches and other organizations and other people get involved. And God, I pray for the families that we're going to bless, for the families that are going to walk into Parkridge. And they're going, what happened to this place? God, I pray that what's said is that there was one church that welled up in love, stayed in step with God's mission. And because of that, Parkridge Community Center is a slice of heaven on earth. And God, I pray for the family we're going to adopt. God, I pray as we buy them internet and iPads and different things for their kids to have better educations. God, I pray that our poverty, our giving, things that we're going to sacrifice will well up so that they can be rich. Just like you, God, emptied yourself of your one and only Son. You became impoverished so we can become rich. God, we love you. And God, make this something that screams your love from the mountaintops. In your name we pray. Amen.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, oh, we live for you, God. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, oh, we live for you.
So hey, thank you so much for joining us online. I'm super pumped that you were able to make it. Now here's the thing, is God stirred in your heart. Maybe you're going, man, I just want to give right now. That'd be great. We set up a whole separate section in our giving app in a different category for giving to the love movement. So you can go there, give to that, make sure you select the right category. Number 2 is that we're going to actually set up a outside fundraiser concert for Park Ridge, okay? Now I know that's risky because you're going, whoa, what about Corona? What about all these other things? Okay, look, we're gonna try to do the best we can, okay? But we're gonna push this to the end of July, beginning of August, trying to push things as loud as possible, and hopefully the gathering order lifts some, and we can bring the community together for a day of music and a day of fun, and just be in the parks together. And so again, we're going to keep everyone safe. If that doesn't work, look, we'll be online doing stuff online because we're committed to this love movement. We're committed to letting the world discover and love who Jesus is. And I'm telling you, love is the megaphone that preaches the gospel.